Chapter 248, Close Combat Kill. Wang He, ranked 85th on the Longhu overall rankings of the Wuxia Genetic Evolution College, a third-year student of the Extreme Branch. The cultivation route he took was similar to that of an assassin in the game. High agility, high attack, high critical hit. This was roughly the information that a Huang had found for Zhu Tui. He's a level D genetic mutant. What was worth mentioning was that Wang He had a level 2 genetic chain mutation ability, just like Rankhan. Instant Strike. The Instant Strike ability was basically a must-learn ability for agility-type cultivators. This ability multiplied the user's attack and dodging abilities. It was especially useful against the Mystery Branch. This Wang He was also extremely fast. He was one of the few students in the Wuxia Genetic Evolution College who could reach a speed of 100 meters in 4 seconds. He relied on pure speed and not any genetic abilities. It was extremely explosive. Other than that, in the information that a Huang had gathered, Wang He also had an extremely powerful level 2 genetic chain mutation ability. Stab Explosion. The level 2 genetic chain mutation ability, Stab Explosion, was to use the energy field of a weapon and attack continuously at a single point in an instant, causing a large area of secondary damage. It is an extremely powerful offensive ability, especially when it was combined with the Instant Strike. Its power was multiplied. It could be said that Wang He's attack ability had gradually become a system. Relying on these two combination abilities, Wang He was almost invincible. His attacks were extremely fierce. This was the target Zhu Tui had chosen. Actually, a Huang had gathered all the information on the 80th to 100th place on the Longhu overall rankings to Zhu Tui. Firstly, Zhu Tui excluded the students from the Mystery Branch. He only targeted the Extreme Branch. This was also to facilitate his plan to lure the snake out of its hole. In comparison, there were more students from the Mystery Branch on the overall rankings. They accounted for half of the students. Therefore, Zhu Tui's choices were extremely limited. Out of the 10 people from between the 82nd and 91st place on the Longhu overall rankings, there were only 4 people from the Extreme Branch who he could challenge. Wang He was a relatively suitable target. This was because according to Zhu Tui's plan to lure the snake out of its hole, he had to win. However, he could not expend too much mind power. After the teacher on duty contacted Wang He immediately received an affirmative answer. According to the rules of the Wuxia Genetic Evolution College's Longhu list, those who were on the list could not refuse a challenge without a valid reason. If they did not have a valid reason to refuse the battle, they would be worse off than admitting defeat. If they admitted defeat, they would only lose a ranking. If they refused to fight for no reason, they would be directly removed from the rankings. Compared to the fast pace of the opening battle of the Year 1 Longhu list, the pace of the Longhu overall rankings was relatively slower. It would take about half an hour for Wang He to rush over and get ready. In this half an hour, another small climax was set off in the 10 small arenas of the Longhu Arena. The challengers were all freshmen from the Supernatural Branch. No matter how cowardly those seeded players were, they did not want to be cowards. They only had one goal. They wanted to obtain a ranking on the Year 1 Longhu list and wait for Zhu Tui to break their legs. It was to the extent that they felt that it was an honor to have their legs broken by Zhu Tui. However, most of the supernatural students who came to challenge were really average in strength. Especially when they are in their first year, the overall strength of the supernatural type was really inferior to the extreme type. Most of the non-seeded candidates of the supernatural branch that Wen Xiao chose ended in failure. Of course, it was not without success. 3 students from the supernatural branch succeeded. One of them was an earth element superb individual from the supernatural branch. He used the frequency of the spikes to severely injure an extreme branch student and obtained 93rd place on the Year 1 Longhu list. The moment he obtained it, the student shouted at the Longhu overall rankings. Zhu Tui, I'm from the Supernatural Branch. I've already obtained 93rd place on the Year 1 Longhu list. Come, I'll wait for you to break my leg. Come quickly if you have the guts. The student patted his chest and shouted in the direction of the main stage. It was obvious that he was furious when Zhu Tui looked down on them. Zhu Tui, who was fighting in the main arena of the Longhu Arena, only glanced at the Earth Element superb individual. After that, that person did not say anything else. Zhu Tui was not so amazing that he could kill someone with just a glance. This was because there were already students from the first-year Extreme branch who had jumped up to challenge this Earth Element superb individual. 2 minutes later, the Earth Element superb individual was helped off the stage by his classmates. His leg was not broken. He had broken an arm and a rib. When he was helped to the front of the doctor, the student even stared hatefully in the direction of the Longhu overall rankings and cursed at Zhu Tui. Zhu Tui, you didn't keep your word. I've already made it onto the Year 1 Longhu list. Why didn't you break my leg? It was obvious that this brave and extraordinary man was ashamed that Zhu Tui had not come to break his leg. The students who were watching the battle were also amused. Zhu Tui had looked down on the first-year students of the mystery branch. However, the laughter of these students made Wen Xiao and the other seated students of the supernatural branch look even worse. This was because the guts of these students made them look even more cowardly. Amidst all kinds of voices, Wang He, who was ranked 85th on the Longhu overall rankings of the Wuxia Genetic Evolution College, finally arrived. He was a thin and short man. His steps were light as he went up the main stage of the Longhu list. There was a triangular bayonet at each side of his waist. Zhu Tui's pupils constricted slightly when he saw the triangular bayonet. A killing weapon. This thing was definitely a great killing weapon in actual combat. If one was injured during an actual battle and could not be treated in time, they would bleed to death. Even in the great genetic age, treating wounds caused by such a weapon would be a little troublesome. Wang He, please put on your combat uniform and prepare for battle in 5 minutes. After Wang He reported in, Ku Qingshan immediately got into character. I don't need to wear a combat uniform. Wang He directly took off his jacket, revealing the black special-made combat uniform he was wearing. It fit his figure very well. It should have been custom-made. Challenger Zhu Tui, Defender Wang He, please prepare to enter the standard combat position. The battle will begin in a minute, Ku Qingshan shouted. Zhu Tui slowly stood up and walked toward the standard combat position. Wang He also pulled out 2 triangular bayonets. He held them in front of him with his left hand and held the other with a back grip. He stood in the standard position. I've studied the battle video between you and Ranghan. Actually, even if you didn't challenge me, I would have fought you if I had the chance. Wang He smiled and waved the triangular bayonet in his hand. Be careful, you have to use your full strength when you attack on the Longhu overall rankings. This will pierce through your standard combat uniform like a piece of paper. You have to be careful. My flying sword will definitely cause harm. The silver flying sword instantly soared into the sky with a buzz. It began to slowly circle above Zhu Tui's head. Zhu Tui stared at Wang He, who was squinting slightly, and his mind raced. Wang He's words revealed an extremely important piece of information. Wang He had studied the battle videos of Zhu Tui and Ranghan, and he was so excited to fight Zhu Tui. That meant that Wang He might have a mature battle plan to deal with Zhu Tui's attack. However, at this moment, the battle was imminent. Zhu Tui could not change his battle plan at the last minute. He could only focus and give it his all. Almost at the same time, the comments on the live stream exploded. Three's cons. 1 second. I guess Wang He won't last a second. 1 second. The screen was filled with comments about Wang He. The reason was simple. Zhu Tui's performance in the battle with Feng Chang'an was too amazing. Although most of the students did not know what genetic ability Zhu Tui had used, it was definitely a mental attack. Mr. Wen Xiao, do you think I will be defeated as you wish? Ku Qingshan was about to host the battle when Zhu Tui suddenly shouted in Wen Xiao's direction. Wen Xiao, who was focused on watching the battle in the arena, almost vomited blood when he heard Zhu Tui's shout. Was there no end to this? Every time they fought, he would be whipped. Could he be any more shameless? Wasn't this too much of a bully? However, Wen Xiao did not even have a chance to retaliate. Ku Qingshan's voice rang out after Zhu Tui shouted. Both sides, get ready. The countdown for the combat projection begins in 5 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The light screen disappeared. Almost at the same time, Wang He, who was in the standard combat position, suddenly flashed. At the same time, Zhu Tui lashed out with his mental whip. Zhu Tui's extremely fast reaction speed allowed him to have the upper hand in this kind of battle. The mental whip landed heavily on Wang He's head. However, he was slightly stunned the moment he whipped him. Wang He's head actually had an invisible barrier that blocked his mental whip. Zhu Tui did not have time to consider what ability Wang He had. His mental whip did not affect Wang He at all. Wang He's figure instantly disappeared. Instant strike. Without hesitation, Zhu Tui set up 5 extremely sharp mental alls 1 meter in front of him. The tactic of letting Rank Han crash to his death might be replicated in Wang He. However, Zhu Tui suddenly understood what Wang He had just said. Wang He had really studied the battle videos of Zhu Tui and Rank Han in detail. He had even put in a lot of effort to target them. Wang He's instant strike came to an abrupt stop the moment Zhu Tui's mental alls descended. Wang He seemed to have sensed the location of the mental alls that Zhu Tui had set up. The 2 triangular bayonets slashed across and directly destroyed Zhu Tui's for mental alls. At this moment, Wang He was only a meter away from Zhu Tui. "You lost!" Vehement Wang He shouted at Zhu Tui. His entire body suddenly turned into an afterimage. 2 triangular bayonets stabbed towards Zhu Tui from different directions. Melee battle. It was a sore kill. He activated his level 2 genetic chain mutation ability, Stab Explosion, and wanted to achieve an absolute kill. That's right. In an instant, Wang He had placed Zhu Tui in a fatal position. Ku Qingshan, who was on duty, had his mental force field almost touching Zhu Tui's head. He was afraid that he could not save Zhu Tui. However, in the next moment, everyone was stunned. Zhu Tui managed to dodge the deadly attacks of the 2 triangular bayonets. He dodged Wang He's triangular bayonet. The trajectory of this dodge was simply perfect. Some of the spectators were shocked and even exclaimed. Only Wang He, who was fighting, had a cold expression. Stab Explosion was activated. He could dodge the stab, but no one could dodge the explosion. An indescribable low explosion sounded in front of Zhu Tui. Some students who had trained their eyes could see that the air in front of Zhu Tui had been blasted into waves by the explosion. The energy field from the explosion swept toward Zhu Tui. With Wang He's perception, a huge mental shield appeared in front of Zhu Tui. However, it was instantly torn apart. The energy field blast wave slammed into Zhu Tui's body. Strangely, Zhu Tui acted as if nothing had happened. He only took 2 steps back. Almost at the same time, Wang He suddenly jumped up, flipped over, and dodged. He thrust out his triangular bayonet. 3 alloy silver pills and a flying sword blasted toward Wang He at the same time. Bang! Bang! 12 silver pills instantly pierced through the tip of the triangular bayonet. However, Wang He also let out a muffled groan at the same time. The moment he landed, a bloody ear fell in front of him. At the same time, Wang He's left arm hung limply. Wang He lost.